Let's get back to Western region, I believe it was, where President John Dramani Mahama was speaking and touting his credentials. Here is the video.
Say for NDC presidential if I was sure that they can stand against MPP and win the election, and can mean but we can't take the risk because MPP nipa baako omusro ewo NDC mu ene John Dramani Mahama. Ezu omuti media omuntimi na enti omo asheda na omo nenam why don't you bring a fresh person? Why don't you bring a fresh person? Mo na mo be ka kire ni ayenye. Akoye say has ni kotoko ebebo na kotoko e ka kire has ni ponya omo captain any omo goalkeeper. It's none of your business. Na mi ojidi say nyame edi tumi na mai.
All right, welcome back to the show, and it's now 29 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Our first story tonight is about what you just saw. President John Dramani Mahama has 1 month more to get re-elected as the NDC's flag bearer. Tonight, he's touting his credentials and saying that as far as the NDC is concerned, he doesn't find any viable candidate legible or electable other than himself. And therefore, he's telling the NDC faithful that he's the one to be renominated as the NDC candidate. Now we want to interrogate what he said. So President Mahama said that he is the clear candidate for the NDC. That's certainly at variance with a report of the Economic Intelligence Unit. Here it is in 2022, 19th April. This was the EIU report. It says NDC can win the 2024 elections only if Mahama is not the flag bearer. I don't know whether the EIU is right or wrong. Sometimes the EIU has been right, sometimes they have been wrong. But this is what they said. So that President Mahama saying that he's the best person to lead the NDC is not borne out, at least by the EIU research. We have not conducted any research to determine it. But we can mention the EIU research for our viewers so that we can give you the information left and right. And then you can interrogate it. That's our responsibility, isn't it? So here you are. EIU report said in 2022 that NDC can actually win the 2024 elections only, they gave a major condition, only if President Mahama is not the candidate. Tonight, President Mahama says he doesn't see any other person who is coming up to be the NDC flag bearer except him. He also says that the NPP is very afraid of him, and NPP is not afraid of anyone else in NDC, but they are afraid of him. There again, we'll go and look at the data, because President Mahama and NDC are bedfellows in political competition. In 2012, they contested against each other, competed against each other. There was a result. In 2016, they competed against each other. Actually, same candidates. There was a result. And in 2020, there was a result. Now, we'll put out the results for you to make a determination whether the NPP should be afraid of President Mahama or that what President Mahama is saying is not just fact check. Anyway, now, President Mahama says that the NPP are afraid of him. So let's look at the data. All right. So President Mahama's engagements with the NPP as a flag bearer on top of the ticket was in 2012. And this is how he beautifully defeated the NPP in 2012. Here are the results. President Mahama got 5.5 million votes. Nana Akufo-Addo got 5.2 million votes. President Mahama 50.7. Which is about, after Rawlings, that seems to be about the highest vote that an NDC candidate has garnered in the first round. President Mahama gets 50.7%, MPP get 47.7% of the votes. This is the 2012 reflection of President Mahama's strength to that of the NPP. Let's move on and see what happened in 2016. In 2016, President Mahama actually was able to record the highest, biggest, and the most embarrassing defeat in the Fourth Republic. Now, this President Mahama says NPP are very afraid of him. He's too scared. They are too scared of him. So I'm showing you the record. In 2012, President Mahama defeated the NPP. Never mind, I won't talk about the courts, because later tonight, I'll be telling you who will be the next Chief Justice. And in that story, the election petition one will come up. So I won't talk about it now. Stay for that, viewers. I'm going to tell you who would be the next Chief Justice. You saw that in our flyer already. We have a big story on that coming up. Now, so President Mahama in 2016 was heavily beaten by the MPP. In 2020, President Mahama recovered some ground against the MPP, but he was still quite beaten in the first round, which is a big matter. To be beaten in the first round is a big matter. He was beaten by 500,000 votes. Now, viewers, tell me, is that a party that should be afraid of President Mahama? Maybe they are, maybe they are not. But send your text message to Good Evening Ghana official. Now, that's there. So we've showed you that the EIU report said to President Mahama and said to the NDC that you can win the elections, but you cannot do it with John Dramani Mahama. That was the EIU report. The details of why they made that conclusion is in the report. I've not read it. You can find it and read it, but we showed it to you, didn't we? So President Mahama is wrong on that about he being the most electable candidate in the NDC. As far as the Economic Intelligence Unit's report is concerned, that is absolutely wrong. We don't know whether the EIU is right or whether President Mahama is right. We'll wait to see. Time will always tell. Now, President Mahama also talks about Dr. Dufour, and tonight we said we're going to explain why Dr. Dufour is trending in Tamale. Now, all our reporters in Tamale are telling us that what happened in Tamale Central, Tamale South, and Tamale North is indicative of what looks like a formidable challenge to President Mahama. They don't know whether Dr. Dufour will win yet, but they think that in the contest of 2018-19, when President Mahama was running for the flag bearer of the NDC, he was being challenged by his current campaign manager, Joshua Alabi, Guzitano, and others. And the people in Tamale tell us that they didn't see this. They didn't see any of those opponents be able to have this. We also know that since the debacle of Parliament, which is I call that also, there are two debacles. The first debacle is the removal of Haruna Idrisu and Muntaka. Since then, it has been reported to us by our reporters in Tamale that the NDC as a party, Johnson Asienu-Kati as the chairman and General Secretary Fifi Kwesi have not been able to come to Tamale to hold any political events. That's what we have been told. Let's now get to the Kwesi Botchwey report. Still on the John Mahama story. There's too much pressure on us to move to the next story. Everybody's texting us. All right. Okay. So this realization of the Kwesi Botchwey report. Let's play the montage and then get to that. It's just a short one. Still on President Mahama, Kwesi Botchwey said something about President Mahama's candidature. So President Mahama tonight talks about his candidature. We showed you the EIU report. He may be right. He says he's the only viable and electable candidate in the NDC. But in the Kwesi Botchwey report, they gave an advice for President Mahama if he wants to continue to run for presidency. Here it is, as follows. John Mahama has lost the election and not the NDC. The president ignored the Akuse strategy. It included no flamboyant campaign, no amorphous groups, etc. Dr. Omane Boama and Standogbe convinced the president he was more popular than the NDC ticket. The two were also the shadow actors of the government. Party lost its youth at the tertiary institution. Okay, now here is the advice. President's inner circle were so intolerant that when you criticize the president, you were condemned. NDC was his own enemy. Greedy, selfish, dismissive, arrogance of power. Opposition media, into bracket, multimedia, bought V8 cars. I'm not sure what that means. Standogbe writes stories and pushes them through NDC media. All right. Now, here is the big conversation. If John Mahama wants to come back, he should purge himself of Standogbe and co. President Mahama lived a life of a movie star. Elders in the NDC were ignored. Disconnection between the government and the party. All right. Disconnection between the government and the party and the grassroots. No respect for the media. The party respects those who openly... I don't think this is correct. So the party does not respect those who openly attack them. We will be surprised if President Mahama decides to continue to keep Standogbe, Dr. Omane Boama, Joyce Bauer, Motari, and still have hope of winning elections. That's the interesting one. It says, we will be surprised if President John Mahama decides to continue to keep Standogbe, Dr. Omane Boama, Joyce Bauer, and still have hope of winning elections. Well, this played out in 2020. John Mahama kept these people and did not win the election. Well, John Mahama is running for election again. We don't know whether he will keep them, but this is the Kwesi Botchwey report. This is the essential part of the Kwesi Botchwey report that is connected to the electability of President John Dramani Mahama for a second time. At 10 minutes to the top of the hour, that's the end of our first story.